Good morning and welcome to Mosaic. We're in the middle of a wonderful conversation with Lori Starr, the Executive Director of the Contemporary Jewish Museum, and Gravity Goldberg, the Associate Director of Public Programs. Welcome back, Gravity and Lori. We were talking about ways in which the museum itself initiates artistic experience, and I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit more about what the museum is up to in that realm of offerings to the community.
Sure. Our rich public programs, for generation to generation, we are commissioning an original work by the soprano Heather Klein. We have actually a long relationship with Heather. We've premiered some of her other work at the Contemporary Jewish Museum previously, but this piece is really connected to the core ideas of the exhibition Generation to Generation. It tells the story of her grandmother, Rosa Ginsburg, who was a Shanghai Jew, and when she came over to the United States, she was held in Angel Island for a period of time before she was released to come to the United States or to come into San Francisco. And Heather grew up not knowing the story of her grandmother, but only later, after her grandmother passed away and she started looking through her belongings, this story started to emerge, and Heather was completely fascinated by it, and so she began to do research. She went to Angel Island, she traveled around trying to track down this story of her grandmother, and then she has now transformed it into a operatic musical piece.
Fascinating. And we should say, just as a matter of historic perspective, that for those who don't know, that before mainland China became communist, that it was a vacation spot for many folks who lived in Russia, and so among the Russians were Jews who came to Shanghai for vacationing, and then during World War II, of all things, Shanghai was a safe haven for, in many cases, Eastern European, German Jews who came to Shanghai to settle. And so we in the Jewish community call those Jews who went to Shanghai and then subsequently came to the United States as Shanghai Jews. And so Angel Island, so her grandmother came from Shanghai to the United States through the Pacific Rim. Fascinating, fascinating. And does she work with the museum on her pieces, or does she kind of go off and do her artistic experience and then come to you and say, here it is? Or is there a kind of artistic dialogue with the museum as she develops something?
Sure. Heather has in the past, and for this one as well, said, I have this idea. Would the Contemporary Jewish Museum be interested in being the first place I performed this? And in all cases, especially after we got to know her, we said yes. And so really the idea is hers, and she creates it off-site. But I believe that there's some inspiration that the museum has for her to kind of bring this piece to us.
So really, in some ways, the museum, in addition to all else it does, is a place to actually create art, not just to inspire it, not just to display it, but to, in fact, create it.
Absolutely.
I know you have education programs for families and kids. Can you talk a little bit about what the museum does in that arena?
Sure. Well, Lori, did you want to?
Well, you know, the museum is devoted to families and children. We've been cited with a wonderful publication from the Wallace Foundation for all of our work in with families. And in fact, our museum tracks ahead of the national average of family participation, something many of your viewers may not realize. We've always been free for kids under the age of 18. And just about every Sunday, we have family programs going on where art gets made by families to take home and to enjoy. And they're all based upon, all the art that we make is based upon the exhibitions that families can see together and enjoy. We also have a destination within the museum called the Zim Zoom Family Room, which is its own wonderful space for kids. It's got all kinds of hands-on activities, a puppet theater, a light show box, ways in which you can make art together, and also a viewing station for very cool videos from Bim Bam, which is used to be called Godcast. So wonderful, wonderful Jewish content, but also fun. Lots of ways to create fun and get to meet other families and other kids, and really feel part of the city and feel part of the community. The great thing coming up that we're very excited about in conjunction with Negev Wheel, the wonderful piece by Ned Kahn, is what we call an Evening of Elements. And it's December 3rd and it's our family gala. Our museum is the first museum that we know of that originated the concept of a family gala, of coming early after you've had your nap, if you're 3 years old. You come early, everybody gets dressed up and comes and has an early fun evening at the CJM. We call it kids running amok in the museum, because it's their museum. We like to think of the CJM as the museum that belongs to the community writ large. So we have families come it's really a fundraiser for the museum. It helps us support all of our great education programs, what we do with schools, for instance. But that night is going to be called Evening of Elements, and it's going to be a focus on negative wheel. So we're going to transform the museum space. So there'll be one space that's about the desert, one that's about the ocean, one that's about outer space. And it's really teaching us all together to actually heed a call that is a very Jewish value, which is caring for the earth.
Thank you so much, Lori and Gravity. Believe it or not, we've come to the end of our conversation. Please go to the Contemporary Jewish Museum, their website, and have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning by yourself, a date, or with your family, and enjoy the CJM.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really fun.
Wow.